everybody, I hope you're all well. I hope you guys are at peace and maybe ready to listen to a video which is not about Meghan, Harry or the royal family. I truly hope so. This video is in a way very personal and in a way not personal at all. Many of you have asked to hear more about South Africa and our life here. So I am giving you a glimpse, and because I cannot do it all in one video, I will do more in the future depending on how well this one is received. This is also the ideal time to talk about South Africa, as 49 South African refugees landed in the United States only a couple of days ago, and on the invitation of President Donald Trump. I have listened to a few videos on the subject, both from our government and from a variety of United States journalists and YouTube creators. I even listened to, I think he's only a YouTube creator, or God alone knows what he is or who he is, and I must say, whoever this dark-haired guy is, youngish, he is so thick, but trying to sound clever, that he does not even know how to use Google to research facts. The bloke is like from the delusional party, I would say. Anyway, he reckons that farm murders in South Africa are all just cooked up by the media and the people. The 49 who landed in America, according to him, do not deserve to be called refugees. Well, let me tell you the truth. You see, it's not just about farm murders, it is about farm attacks. So let's quickly do some statistics, okay? In 2024, there were 188 farm attacks recorded, as well as 34 farm murders. And this, my friends, is what we call a slow year. In February this year, only 2 farm murders were recorded since the 1st of January. But of course, it was just a, in inverted commas, slow month. Since then, criminals had made up for their lack of action in January, and now I apologize, but the next bit of information is a little gruesome, but I'll try to not be too graphic. You see, these farm invaders are not like other criminals who break in maybe just with a screwdriver or whatever. You see, these farm invaders are guys who are prepared, and their mission is violence and destruction, and the only stuff they are interested in actually stealing are weapons and money. They may take a vehicle just to get away faster, but they'll dump that somewhere. An exact example of one such incident took place on the 30th of April this year, 2025. A 78-year-old farmer who lived alone was brutally murdered on the Stofkraal farm in Limpopo. He was tied up with wire cloth stuffed in his mouth, and he was left in a pool of blood with severe wounds on his forehead. He was found by a family member the next day, on the 1st of May. The victim's vehicle was found turned over about 6 kilometers from the farm, and the suspects are still at large. So if we look back over the last few years, here are some more statistics. 2020, 446 attacks, 77 farm murders. 2021, 248 attacks, 43 farm murders. 2022, 156 attacks, 39 murders. 2023, 182 attacks and 45 murders. 2024, 283 attacks and 28 murders. And these are statistics from our law enforcement or police service. In January 2025 alone, there were 23 attacks and 2 murders. Now, of course, when considering the total number of, say, home invasions and murders for the entire country, these figures may indeed look and sound a bit less relevant. But remember, these are targeted and prepared for planned attacks, whereas the total figures include gang-related activities, domestic violence, and other criminality. And I apologize for Akira in the background. In 2024, there were 26,232 murders between January and December 2024, an average of 72 per day or 42 per 100,000. Now, this figure includes all races and for 101 different reasons. Again, the government in 2024 report and list the top reasons for murders are arguments, misunderstandings, road rage, robbery, mob justice, and gang retaliation. So yes, in 2024, the farm murders were only a drop in the ocean. But in 2024, the percentage of farmers, as in farm owners, was only 5.3% of the total population. Now, that figure is excluding the farm workers. Now compare that to 11 and 16% in 2011 and 2012, and it is clear that our breadbasket is running empty. The other thing no one is thinking about is that for any one farmer leaving the country, there are 4 potential farmers leaving the country. When they leave with their children, we are losing future farmers because many farms are family farms and was likely to be run by his or her children in the future. So for any journalist or anyone else to say that these farm attacks are just media hype and lies is totally ignorant, stupid, as information about it is readily available on the internet, and not just from our government or our police services, but I think last year we had a whole delegation from the Netherlands here, and they compiled their own statistics, and that is also available on the internet. So you don't need to believe us South Africans. What does sometimes upset me, regardless of the fact that I 100% understand the importance of our farmers, and as I look at the rising cost of food, I find the fact that so many of them are leaving the country indeed very, very concerning. But there are so many other repeating offences, and the government is seemingly just turning a blind eye. For instance, my parents, before both passed away, were attacked in their home, and the criminals were so brazen that they were battling to open the door to the pool, and my father switched on the light in the lounge. They didn't run away. They ran around the house to the bedroom and tried to open the window. And as my father entered the bedroom, they actually shot through the window. And that took place in Richards Bay in KwaZulu-Natal. Luckily, with no small children in the house anymore, he kept his firearm in the drawer next to the bed, and he had already taken it out. So he shot back, and only then they actually ran off. But that shows you that they are not even afraid anymore. And it also shows what would have happened to my parents had they come in. Criminals do target the elderly, and that is a fact. In my opinion, the problem lies mainly in two places. Organizations like the EFF and Julius Malema, who are igniting racial hatred wherever they poke their red caps out. And the second issue is the South African law, or then police services. Well, SAPS, or then the South African Police Service, because they took out the enforcement. It's no longer the South African Police or Law Enforcement, because it is allegedly offensive. Anyway, they need to be renamed, in my opinion. Maybe the South African Permanent Leave Service, or the South African KFC Service. As for our courts, what a joke. And let's rather not go into that. I would prefer to stay alive for how many years I still have left and spend it at home and not in prison. So look, of course, there are individuals in both the police services and the courts who take their jobs seriously, but they are indeed few and far between. And that, my dear friends, is exactly why I have a spade and a canister of mace at my back door. I have more trust in my own ability to fend off an intruder than I have in the police. I showed you the video taken from our security camera. The guy jumps our fence, runs into the yard, removes rocks from the piece of shade cloth covering the concrete mix, and runs off with it. He even looked up at the camera. My daughter calls the police, they come out, she gives her statement and sends the footage to the detective. Just under 2 hours later, we received an SMS from the detective stating, "Case closed, not enough evidence." So what did they investigate? The inside of the coffee tin at the detective's home, or the tea leaves at the bottom of her cup? I mean, what more evidence do they want if a full face and distinctive jacket is not enough? Do they want us to catch and cuff them as well? Anyway, so in my opinion, that is where our issues start. If the government could straighten out their police service and remove or suspend those who think their job is equal to a holiday at the beach, the crime rate will likely take a tremendous drop. But at the moment, there's hardly any repercussions, especially not for smaller crimes like theft. President Ramaphosa was very much a yes man, a diplomat. But lately, it appears that he's leaning more towards the more radical. Or maybe he is such a yes man that he just gave them what they wanted with the new land reform bill. If you go back in history, you will find that that is exactly how the war in Zimbabwe started. Anyway, when people hear all of this, they ask me, why am I still here? Well, mainly for two reasons: age and money. Let's talk about money. The American dollar to South African rand right now is 18 rand 21 cents to one single American dollar. 1 British pound equals 24 rand and 20 cents. 1 Canadian dollar equals 13 rand and 2 cents. So I do not have to explain to you that even if I sell my house, my car, and every piece of shite inside, I will likely not have enough to survive on for 2 to 3 months. Now, 7 to 10 years ago, I may have jumped at the opportunity President Trump gave white South Africans now, but now I'm not so sure. I still work very, very hard, but I have all my tools that I need to work with around me. I have my animals, my artwork, my books, my music. Would I want to start a life without all of that at nearly 62? No, not really. Only if one of my children or grandchildren's lives depend on it. I think it would be the only reason for me to give it all up. The question is, do our lives depend on it? Well, for one thing, we do live in an area where the crime rate is much lower than the national average. In our town, the biggest issue year after year after year are drug-related offences. For instance, in 2019 to 2020, there were 652 reported household burglaries in our district, but 1,590 drug-related offences out of a population of 92,000 more or less, and 22,000 formal households. Now, why is that the case? Because it is largely being ignored. You can phone the police any time, day or night, about a guy who's as high as a kite walking in the middle of the road, and do you think they will come? Good luck with that. Maybe in your lifetime, certainly not in mine. I can tell you now that all they are interested in when it comes to drugs are the big hauls, those where they can confiscate thousands and thousands of rands worth of drugs so they can make the front page of the newspaper. In our area and district, the crimes are relative small crimes, well, depending on what your idea of a small crime is. My idea of a small crime is where no one gets hurt, because that is how I am conditioned. The likelihood is that my grandson will somehow go study elsewhere, likely Canada or England or America, because there's no point in paying thousands plus minus 40,000 or more per year, and he can't write exams because students are burning the university in protest or whatever. Also, because of the blatant racism against white students at certain universities or at college level, currently at school he does not have such issues. More than half of his friends or kids he does other activities with are from different race groups. And as this was always the case in his lifetime, Dragon Man is pretty much colorblind. That was until he was nearly killed at school in primary school. But he has gotten over that, and he now chooses these friends according to shared interest rather than color. It is only really at university or college level where young people are indoctrinated to hate. At the moment, Dragon Man is thinking about studying law, so he is a young man with ambition. We hardly know how we will be able to afford him studying here in our own country, because he will likely not get a bursary because he is indeed white. So how we'll manage to pay for studies abroad at the rate the rand is going, we don't have any idea. Anyway, guys, this is the bad side about my country: a lack of discipline, racial issues, which mostly comes from government and elements like the EFF, mismanagement and corruption, again, mostly at government level, whether national, provincial or local government. In the meantime, I beg you, all Americans, to reach out to the brave souls who decided to give up everything and go to your country. Stop any further persecution of these people. Protect them and love them, because one day they will do the same for you. And why? Because that is how we are all put together. But next time I talk about South Africa, I'll tell you about the good, the beautiful, and what I enjoy about the country. So until then, please take good care of yourselves and each other. Bye.